Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm Fabio Botan, and I work for Railian, which is an international carrier on voice, signaling, roaming, and messaging side. Thanks a lot for joining, and it's super interesting to see you here, especially during the RSA. I mean, all the sessions are about pretty fancy technologies, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and very complex kinds of attack. And then suddenly there's a guy talking about SMSs, which is a quite old technology. But what I want with this presentation is actually to show that SMS is really part of our life still. And you guys will understand, hopefully by the end of the presentation, what are the potential issues or risks that is involving, of course, the entire communication chain, okay? So moving forward, that's a disclaimer. It's kind of mandatory to show to you guys, so let me move to the next slide. You guys can check later, downloading the presentation on the website. But SMS, yes, it's super old technology, right? I mean, that was the very first SMS, that was the very first mobile phone that was used to receive an SMS. The first SMS was Merry Christmas in 1992. To show how old is this technology, I was checking what happened during this year, right, 1992. And that was the year where Bill Clinton was elected. And on the movie theaters, we had movies like Home Alone 2 or Sister Act, you know, those very interesting movies that now, of course, it's part of our memories, right? But this is how to show where it started, And funny thing is, you may remember that SMS was not something that you had in your phone. I mean, the first mobile phones, and I remember I had like a Nokia 63 something, I don't remember now. But you could not send SMSs. You could only receive SMSs at first, right? So the communication that we call person to person, and I will explain that later, there are types of communication on SMS. The communication we call person to person actually came later. So the mobile phones could receive SMSs generated by the mobile network operator, by your mobile phone operator. And that was used for either communication, of course, but also for to push some configuration to your phone, okay? Later, with of course, I mean, the whole development of the service, the P2P became quite important and very popular. The person-to-person communication SMS was really a big boom, right? So everybody was using SMS to communicate, exchange SMSs. I remember again, I was a big fan of the service. Apparently, I'm still am. And the P2P was really, really important for the mobile operators, and the total revenues generated by this kind of communication was very significant for them, okay? But then, what happened? Smartphones came, and our P2P communication nowadays basically comes from these guys here, right? So we have WhatsApp taking over all the person-to-person communication in certain countries. I'm from Brazil, and WhatsApp is a big thing. Everybody uses WhatsApp over there. Nobody's sending P2P communication over SMS anymore, right? Same thing for Instagram and Messenger, etc., right? But then, of course, as I said, that it was important for the mobile operators. They saw the traffic declining, and what we do with this whole platform, what we do with the entire network that we have, it's already in there. So how can we boost that? How can we reuse these services? And then something came, which is called application to person. Actually, it didn't came because it was there since the beginning, but enterprises start using SMS to engage better with the final consumers, okay? So those print screens over there, those are from my personal phone, and there is not a single SMS that came from a person. So all of them, and I invite you to check yours as well, all of them in my phone were actually applications and services, okay? So we don't realize, but our SMS inbox nowadays, they are full of what we call A2P, application to person. And that was booming. Everybody started using this. And why SMS was so important for the enterprise? We will cover that in more details later, but think about SMS. When I'm traveling, because when I go to certain countries, data roaming is extremely expensive, okay? So there are countries where when I land, what I do is simply I switch off my data roaming, because in some countries I have to pay 18 euros per meg, okay? I don't want this. I forget it, I'm not using WhatsApp. So my data is down. It's difficult to have Wi-Fi coverage, or even for those that in certain countries where data, local data, home data is actually expensive, so SMS is still there. So you still, even when I'm roaming, or if I switch off my phone, SMS will still work. I still can get SMSs. When I use my card, I get the confirmation code from my bank without any problem. SMS is not dependent on the type of the phone you're using. If you have Android or if you have iOS, SMS is the same, okay? Doesn't matter what type of network you're using. If you're using 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, SMS is there. So it's really, really the best way, and when we consider what they call the CPaaS platforms, or communication platform as a service, there are several different channels, messaging channels, to communicate with the final customer, okay? And SMS is by far the most popular one. One thing that was boosting a lot the whole SMS business and the engagement with the final consumer and the final subscriber was COVID, was the pandemic, okay? During the pandemic, of course, we had to be at home, lockdowns, because of the lockdowns. So there were a lot of communication that were exchanged via SMS with the public, with the regular public. For example, in the UK, the NHS, the National Health Department, they were sending notifications and updates about the COVID situation, but also the invites to go and have your vaccine. So when was your time to do your vaccine, basically you get one confirmation via SMS with a time slot and saying that you could go that place, that time, to get your shot, right? So problems start to happen. Not that it start to happen, but you know that attackers, they see the opportunity. There was a good momentum, actually, to promote attacks. Because if SMS was booming even more, so what if phishing was also about the communication that we were receiving from the government, right? And here we have one, these are real examples, okay, guys? Everything you see here are real. So we have SMS A and SMS B, okay? I'll give you a few seconds. You can take a look on SMS A and B, but one of them is actually phishing. One of them was used as an attack because, of course, the attackers, as I said, they were using this momentum, this opportunity that where a lot of communication was sent by the government in order to create a phishing attack. So let me do this exercise. Who thinks, and you can raise your hand, of course, who thinks that the SMS A is the phishing? Okay, okay. And what about the B? Who think the B is the phishing? Right, right. So B is the phishing. You're right. But there are some people, and we could see this, that they will go for the B as the legit SMS, okay? And funny thing, I did the same kind of a question to an audience that was on telecom space. Well, you guys are security specialists, so it's for you guys are quite easy to detect phishing. But even on a telecom space, when I did this with my some colleagues, you know what? 30% of them they went to the wrong SMS, okay? 30% of them. You know that phishing, we don't send 1 or 2 SMSs, right? I mean, the volumes are really big, right? We're talking about thousands and thousands of SMS sent out, right? And think about it. If you may think, how expensive it is. Is it something that maybe I could, a phishing attack, I need to pay a lot of money to do it? Is it difficult to be done? Actually, no. If considering the market prices to send traffic to UK, which is the example here, if I send around 50,000 SMSs, okay, I'm talking about 50,000 SMSs, that would cost around 750 euros. That's it. And I'm talking about good route. Huh? I'm not exploring illegal routes to terminate traffic. I'm talking about really official and good routes. 750 euros, more or less, to make a very big attack, quite substantial amount of messages sent, where potentially 10% of the people will click on the wrong link, and I will collect whatever I want, either personal data or your bank details, or even make you pay for a parcel that has to be delivered, okay? So, interesting thing is that attackers, they will always look for what is next. So how can I make the attack more realistic, okay? So what else I can add on top of an SMS that I'm sending, in order to make it more real, in order to make the consumer think that is actually a real message, right? So for those who were, of course, selecting the SMS A, which is the real one, what if I send the SMS B to you with a message from your bank, okay? I'll get the biggest bank here in the US, for instance. And then after that, I give you a call. I say, listen, this is from your bank. We noticed that there is a problem with your account. We just sent you a communication. Can you please check and do the needful, because we need to sort this out today, okay? Thank you, bye. So a regular phone call. Maybe would that change your mind? Maybe you would go for the link, right? And how difficult is this to be done? Well, I have the number already. I just need some call center to help me out. And I know that you guys have problems with call centers here in the US, so I mean, that would be super easy to be done. But there are some other problems around SMSs that we can see here. For example, SIM swapping. There are ways where I can make your SMS come to my device instead of your own personal device. There are flash calls that nowadays, mobile operators, most of them, they see as a threat to their revenues and a sort of a type of bypass on how they deliver officially the traffic, right? Deepfake voice phishing. What if when you pick up your phone is actually let's say that you get one SMS from your friend, and then you have a deepfake voice on the phone call saying, listen, I just sent you a message, can you help me out? Can you send me $1,000 because I need, I mean, it's quite fast, just to fix a problem here. So there are other stuff that we will explore in this presentation that you will become aware about security. And yes, there is a dark side on the SMS side, okay? The problem is there are a lot of service providers or enterprises or even mobile operators that they're not doing the right way. And that's what we want to change in this business. There is a group called Mobile Ecosystem Forum, right? Where they have done a very nice paper, which is free of charge, by the way. If you go to their website, you will be able to download this paper. The paper called the 14 Types of Fraud, right? So basically, it's the fraud framework around SMS communication, okay? And I have to say, I love this picture because on the SMS flow, you need to understand that the SMS start with a enterprise, someone generating the content, right? So let's say your bank, your Facebook account. When you lock your Facebook account, you get an SMS, an activation code to unlock that. Or a marketing communication, please show up on our booth in what is a North building? I think it's North building, right? So, and then you get one free gift, right? So you can send marketing campaigns as well via SMS. And then on these 14 types of fraud, they have implemented here, as you can see, they are listed from the enterprise going to the service provider, going to the mobile operator, and then the final consumer, okay? So here you have the entire communication chain of an SMS A2P, right? And the frauds you can see here, they are actually placed for those that are affecting those blocks, steps. As we can see, we're talking about phishing. As you can see, the phishing is actually affecting the consumer, but also the business. Yes, the phishing that you get is bad even for the enterprise. It's not only a problem for you, but enterprise have problems with phishing. On the phishing, as you can see, I like old technology, so I didn't go to ChatGPT and ask what phishing was about. I went to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia says that, there you go, SMS phishing or smishing, that's what we call SMS phishing, can be just as effective as email phishing. Sorry, I don't agree with that. SMS is way more personal than email. Your email phishing normally goes to your junk folder, right? Or trash bin. But your SMS, when you get, normally an SMS, 98%, according to a market research, 98% of the SMS, it's actually open within 3 minutes. And the open rate of SMS is close to 100%. While the open rate for emails are around 20%, okay? So now, if you want to have like a good phishing attack, maybe SMS is way better than email. This is not a tip, guys. It's just like, keep in mind that SMS is way more personal and will be way more effective than a regular SMS and a regular email, okay? When this became more important was, as I said, during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, we could see, because it was more and more used, this kind of a communication, we were buying online. We were going more and more to Amazon. We were actually make food, using food delivery services because we had to stay at home, right? But also, as I said before, some official communication was sent. So firewalls, there are SMS firewalls, for those who were not aware. Mobile operators, they start thinking, okay, I need to do something, right? Maybe it's time for me. Now I finally realized that this is a problem. We need to go and implement secure platforms on our side. An SMS firewall it's always the first step on that, right? But we need to think that if a firewall is enough, I believe on your systems will be the same thing. Is it firewall good enough? Would keep you protected just if I implement a firewall and that's it? It's a magic box? Of course it's not, right? So, I was saying before that phishing is also bad for enterprise. So let me give you 2 examples. This is the first one, and it was a quite important case in Europe, which was with the Bank of Ireland, where they were fined for security problems. And part of those security problems were SMS phishing. So a lot of people in Ireland start to receive SMSs with BOI. You know, when you get an SMS and there is the name, the brand in the SMS, not a number, but a brand in the SMS. So with a lot of phishing, okay? And they were fined because of that. So those things may affect the enterprise, as I said, not only the consumer, but the enterprise. And on top of that, they were also, and here is a official, one of the example used, they were forced to educate their own consumers, their own customers. So even today, if you go to the Bank of Ireland website, their official website, there's a session dedicated to SMS communication and phishing problems. So they will show to their customers what type of communication they will send over SMS. that they will never ask for personal data, things like that, right? Because education around SMS is needed, just like it was needed a few years ago with the email problem, with the phishing attacks over email, right? And they also start informing their customers about the case I said to you. So a text, and after that, a phone call, right? So that was already happening in Ireland, and they start, of course, spreading the news and informing their customers about that. So they lost actually quite good amount of money because of the fines, as you can see here. So it's a part of that was here, 1.7 million euros, which is, of course, substantial for any business, right? And then you may think, okay, but is it all about phishing? Now, there's this gentleman here, and he was in a podcast. I think it was end of last year, December or January this year, don't remember now. But he mentioned something very interesting. He said, you know what? At Twitter, we're stopping using SMS as two-factor authentication, right? We don't want to use that anymore. And why? But why was that? Well, and he said, well, we were defrauded. And that was a problem. So they had like 390 telcos, and the way that it sounds, that Elon Musk was like complaining with the mobile operators, okay, which is not true, was not the fact. So what was this about? This was like bots generating fake accounts on Twitter, okay, just so that Twitter platform will generate the activation code to be delivered. And then, of course, they have to pay for this traffic. Twitter have to pay for every single SMS that is sent out. So then the fraudsters will collect this money. But as this SMS was never delivered to the mobile operator. So what the fraudsters, they do, they artificially inflate the traffic, and that's what we call the artificial traffic inflation kind of attack. So they generate a lot of new accounts. They will collect the SMS. They will not deliver to the mobile operator, but they will still use the activation code that is generated by Twitter to activate these fake accounts, these bot accounts, okay? Why they need to use the code? Because this is how the big techs like Facebook, Twitter, Google, this is how they measure quality. They call that conversion rate, okay? So if a code was used, it means that the route or the supplier I'm using is actually good. I have good quality. So they generate these, such a big amount of traffic that in the end, they discovered that they made a loss of $221 million in 2021 and $60 million last year. So they said, you know what? We got in contact with these telcos, and there you go. There's a quote here, right? So, you can defraud us, but no 90% of our traffic. 10% we will take, but 90%, that's too much. So they said, we will move away from the 2FA using SMS, which of course was really bad. I think, my personal opinion, I think it's a bad decision. It's always good to have SMS as a authentication method. I think the way that they were doing was actually wrong, okay? And what about MNOs? So we were talking about the problems on the consumer side, enterprise side, but what about the MNOs? So the MNOs, they are still trying to find the best way to control that, right? Of course, there are methodologies to be done as any security problem. And when it's done in the right way, SMS can be quite a good amount of revenues for the MNOs. We can see here, for instance, that SMS in the total revenue of a mobile operator can be around 2%. And then I say, but only 2%, Fabio, come on. No, actually, 2% only for SMSs. Talk about very old technology. There is absolutely nothing there that they need to change, okay? And it's actually very important for the mobile operators. So they are now investing in the securing the SMS to be delivered in the right way. But can we move forward? What's the room to improve this business, right? According to Mobile Square, which is this graphic that I'm showing here, and again, you guys can download this for free on their website, the market, the SMS A2P market can go to, the projections are 35 billion by 2025. There's another market research, Juniper, saying that that can go to 78 billion by 2027. And it's not only about enterprises using more and more, but also the total amount of mobile subscribers, okay? So there is a big room there. There is a big market out there, right? And what's the problem with the mobile operators? It's because they don't get paid. They're not receiving these SMSs in an official way. If you don't see the traffic, how can you get the money? How can you control the traffic? Okay? So we're talking about illegal termination, bypasses. Okay? So how they do these bypasses? There are SIM farms, which is literally or use a lot of SIM boxes, which is a box, a lot of cards, and each card you implement a SIM card inside that acts as a local phone. So you send international traffic via internet towards that box, which then that phone, local phone, will deliver the SMS. And why this is important? Because international may cost, I don't know, 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, one single SMS, but how much do you pay for a local SMS when you send to someone in the same country? Normally it's free of charge, right? Bingo, you have a good business case here, right? Another problem is, I can go into details, but GTs, open global titles, but this is more on the international signal level. But there you go, $80 billion in illegal termination. This is how we are leaking, they are leaking actually on the service. Another interesting fact, despite of all of that, as I said, the business is still growing, right? And, but how big can be? That's a good question. So it is estimated that there are around 300 million official, 305 million actually, official enterprises registered in the world, right? But only about 3% of them are using messaging to communicate with their consumers. So guys, indeed, if we move that from like 3% up to 30%, the numbers we're seeing here will go to more than 140 million. Very, very, very soon. Billion, sorry, very, very soon. Okay? But what we can do? I mean, I was only giving you bad news, problems. So shall we still SMS? Actually, there are a lot of things we can do. And again, we should not treat SMS fraud as like a generic problem. But as I said, there are players in this area, right? And for the MNOs, what they have to do is, of course, the first step would be to stop the fraud, implementing security systems that will help them to stop the leakage, stop the spam and phishing issues, and that, of course, once we have that under control, do your traffic profiling, know your traffic, data analysis, right? So that is also applicable to telecom space, to the telecom traffic. And then after that, you need to keep protected. Firewall, as you well know, it's not a magic box, but pen tests are also available for all these kind of problems or all these kind of services. So the right engagement and the right methodology will give you a good security level. But for the enterprises, so you need to think about your messaging strategy, right? So what sort of services you want to use for messaging? Is it for marketing campaigns? Is it for security? As I said, two-factor authentication, right? So who is the right provider that I can engage with? And also, I need to talk about with the mobile operator. So can I engage correctly with the mobile operator, right? So these are things that enterprise should ask itself in order to have a better service. Trust for the consumer. I mean, you can trust on SMS. It's definitely like you trust in your, I mean, email could be a good, a parallel to that, but SMS still can be trust, right? So you do have a good engagement for communication, but also for activation codes, it still can be used without any problems, okay? So trust is key. If the consumers have lost this trust, then of course, it's about the other players, the enterprise and MNOs to recover this trust from the consumers, okay? Now to summarize, to all of you users, well, that includes me, of course, guys, SMS can be secure. Okay, if done in the right way, it can be secure. I still use a lot of SMS, and I believe you guys still receive a lot of SMS for activation codes, right? Still, it's a good and powerful way to communicate. If you receive an SMS with an URL, check the URL, just like you do for your emails, right? It's not a problem. I mean, you guys could figure out that the SMS B was the wrong one, right? When you receive an SMS with a number, which means that a regular number, let's say that you lock your Facebook account and then you get an SMS with the activation code and there is a long number there, like +1 something or plus, I don't know, 44 or something. That's a red flag. That's potentially was generated by a local machine, so be careful, okay? So think about these red flags inside the message. When you get an SMS that's saying that you won the lottery, I'm sorry, maybe not. I don't think you have won the lottery. And even if you have won the lottery, they will never communicate to you over SMS. I don't know if you managed to see the presentation of a Cisco CSO saying about the Nigerian prince. That's the same case, right? No, there's no such thing as you won the lottery over SMS. Forget about this, right? And if you get a friend that is actually sending you a message asking for help, give him a call. Just pick the phone and give him a call, right? Not difficult. Now for the enterprises, right? So we don't want, to be honest, as a user, we don't want to install another app just for the security purpose. There are a lot of solutions out there, right? Please, I prefer to use something simple, especially, for example, for elder people. I mean, we don't want to keep installing every time I use a new service, something different. So SMS is a good way to go. Be careful when you select your supplier. There are a lot of suppliers out there selling routes, price to terminate SMS at a very, very, very low price. What means a low price? Of course, it's a red flag as well. If you have like a bottle of wine that costs like $40 and another one that costs $1, which one is the best, right? Not difficult. So again, look for quality, right? Same thing about the bottle of wine I was saying before. And better to engage with the local MNOs. They are the ones that knows how the regulation works and what can be done in the country. Maybe they can also give you the content about a good supplier where you can engage with to have like your traffic terminated in the right way, not like Twitter, like what happened with Twitter, right? And now to the MNOs, to the mobile operators. You are under attack. Every single day, people are looking for ways to terminate traffic in a legal way, bypassing your systems just to not pay for this traffic, okay? And you are losing money because if you're not collecting these, and of course you have issues about phishing and spam, maybe you are losing your customers. Think about that. Cost versus the return of investment. There are cases where we have implemented a security solution where we saw the return of investment within 2 to 3 months. Yes, that's all. That's all. And we could see that there's a big market out there. So don't miss the A2P train. It's still SMS will be there for the next few years. Okay, guys? So now the takeaways. So the next week, what I invite you to do is actually to, according to your business, analyze what is necessary, potential problems affecting your A2P communication, right? And then, of course, educate your users. Just like I was watching a session this morning about education and how to make people aware about security. It's the same thing about A2P, okay, about the SMS that you get from enterprises. So in the next 3 months, I invite you to do an analysis on the financial impact of these problems, depending, of course, on your service, if you're doing for marketing campaigns or security, right? Do this kind of analysis, okay? And try to engage with an MNO. If you're using SMSs for your business, go for the mobile operator. They are very good on that. They know it's actually their network, so they would definitely give you a good advice on that, right? And within 6 months, it would be nice if you could work on a security strategy around the A2P, how we can be secure around that, right? And of course, implement the necessary measures in order to avoid this, the security issues, okay? So SMS, yes, it's old technology, but if we do it in the right way, it can still last for a certain time. And I mean, trust is there. We have to recover that, just, okay? So thank you so much. Thank you. I think we can open for Q&A. If anyone has questions, we have mics over there. Right? Yeah, sure. Yes, that's a very, very good question, actually, because every time we talk about education and phishing problems, this is related to email. You're right. I fully agree with you. I never seen actually a company that is say, you know what, messaging could be a problem. So actually, our company is doing that because we care about. But I don't think there are a lot of companies out there paying attention to the problems that may come from messaging. And when I say messaging, there you go. I'm talking about messaging, only SMS. Huh? There are also phishing attacks and people trying to get personal data via WhatsApp as well. Getting the picture of your CEO in the internet, creating a fake WhatsApp account, sending a WhatsApp message, and say, listen, I just changed my number. I need this contract right away. Can you send to me, please? And so I don't think there are a lot of these, and that's a problem. I invite you, of course, to, when you talk about phishing with your colleagues, go for messaging phishing as well. That's very, very important. Okay? Sure.
Hi, thank you for this presentation. This was great. I wanted to ask for enterprises or organizations looking to have those conversations with MNOs, do you have guidance on what they should be looking for when they say, do you have SMS security? And they're just like, yeah. And you're like, okay, prove it. Like, what are things that they should be looking for? You know, should they expect a full layout of their security structure around SMS, or any guidance there?
Great question. Not a full layout. Of course, we're not looking for their network infrastructure or whatsoever, right? But you should ask for their security policies around SMS, right? And be sure that this is actually in line with the local regulation. There are, if you want to know more about guidelines on security and SMS security, there are official documentation put by GSM Association, right? So it calls IR 70 and IR 71. So Google for those. Those are SMS security guidelines, official guidelines. But also the MEF, the MEF documentation that I was mentioning before, it's a good guideline because it details how the attacks work. So you can easily ask the mobile operator, okay, what you're doing for this? I have 14 cases for you. Can you guarantee that I will not have these problems over here, right? So those are good starting points to have a good conversation with the mobile operator.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Just a point of clarification. Earlier in your presentation, you mentioned that the smishing attacks were far and away more successful than emails based on opening rates. Does that mean clicking or looking at the message?
It's both, actually. It's both. And also, the amount of phishing attacks via SMS were growing a lot, especially during the pandemic. There was a report saying that during the pandemic, the phishing attacks over SMS was growing 40%, only in UK, right? So there are studies showing the opening rate of SMS. We say close to 100%. Even if it's a problem, we will open SMS and read it. But the clicking will be around 30 to 20%. And that's really bad. That's really, really bad, right? And again, back to the example I was saying before, if they spend 750 euros for 50,000 messages, and then if we consider only, I'm talking about only 10% of them, of these people providing, let's say, 2 euros, right, for a parcel to be delivered, right? we're talking about $10,000, 10,000 euros, sorry. So it's a good margin over there.
Got it. So one other quick question. You outlined a good argument for SMS as a mechanism for providing one-time passwords and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I can't get comfortable with using an unauthenticated network to provide a security service like that. So is there any work being done to provide authentication to these networks so that we know that we're getting a message from our bank, for example?
Right. Super interesting your points on dedicated network. I think it's a fully dedicated network, actually, in my opinion. A mobile network is, and especially on the SMS side, that is like internal signaling and is not even going, okay, even if the signaling is going over IP, the stack on the signaling protocol, the SMS remains on the highest stack, which calls MAP, Mobile Application Protocol, right? The IP will go only to the third level, right? Even if we have IP, it will be only the transport, and it will go potentially over via internet. It's still like this, you're still considering this. You still have your SMS over the map layer, which can be processed by the mobile operator only. So in today's world, I would say that attacks against the signal network at mobile operator are way, way, way lower than any attacks to IP platforms, you know? So SMS Center works based on this protocol, very old protocol, SS7, but still working. Again, it's like IP, right? Can we consider IP as a safe thing? Well, if you apply the correct measures, yes, maybe, right? But can we consider SS7 as a safe thing? Same thing. I mean, if you apply the correct measures, I think SS7 can be quite secure, okay? Okay, good. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming here and listening about this old technology. Thank you so much.